because thousands of people are seeing these tweets when we put them out.
Well, this is, and this is the frustrating part with Breitbart, because here, and again, and you and I were kind of confused by this. We spoke about this on the air. We were saying, Breitbart has been accused of being, big Trump supporters. Even Glenn Beck has come out and said that Breitbart has been supporting Trump. But then I listen to Breitbart. I listen to the Breitbart radio show in the mornings, and they always kind of, every time they talk about the outsider, they always talk about Donald Trump and Ted Cruz, and it makes me want to pull my hair out. And then I say to myself, maybe that's why they keep calling him the outsider, because of Mercer's, ownership of Breitbart. I don't know at this point. I don't know who to trust, because it's really
it is like the most double.
It's like a double agent thing,
whatever.
Yeah.
Yes, it's crazy. Even this morning, that Beck and his crew, Stu and those other guys, and I was a big Glenn Beck fan until about 2-3 months ago, when I realized that they were so in the bag against Trump. Because why in God's name? What has Trump done to be such a bad guy compared to Hillary Clinton or Bill Clinton or Bernie Sanders? What has he done that is so ugly that Glenn Beck and his crew would be literally threatening to stab him, because he can say whatever he wants? For me, I listened to it repeatedly, and that was big news last week. It's kind of already fallen off the radar. But I listened to that tape of Glenn Beck's show, and to me, you know what? Somebody needed to go talk to him.
Yeah, I posted.
Joke or no joke.
Yeah, I tweeted that out. And you brought up a good point about the Daily Wire, which is also, like you said, it was owned by these Texan billionaires, the Wilkes brothers. And the front man for that is none other than Ben Shapiro, who works for Breitbart as well, and kind of, went on the Megyn Kelly show and ripped Breitbart because of what happened with Corey Lewandowski during the big, Scrum Gate, where Michelle Fields is saying that she was accosted by Corey Lewandowski. But really, every video I've seen, I mean, we'll get into that later if we have time, but the fact of the matter that here you have Ben Shapiro, who's a big Ted Cruz supporter, who works for these millionaires who support Ted Cruz, who bought up Breitbart and who bought up the Daily Wire. I mean, this is why I don't want to take advertising from my show, because I don't want to have to answer to anybody. And I think this is what's going on. It's being run by all these millionaires. Like I said, the same people that are purchasing up mainstream media and controlling mainstream media are now trying to control the new media. And that's not going to happen to me. I'll tell you that right now. Oh, I would imagine to you as well.
Each and every one of us has to be that blogger, that Twitter poster, that Facebook poster, and you can do some digging. We can get into something with Kasich earlier today that I saw, but you're absolutely right, man. You don't know who to trust anymore, and the only people you can trust are the people you and I have never met face to face, but we've shared, we've posted, we find ourselves to be brothers in arms, and Joanna. I think I've seen Joanna's posts on Twitter before as well. Right. And you literally find these people that have similar values to you, and that's what you have to do. I mean, I ran into a guy this morning who gave me the quick and easy, nasty spat this morning with me, and instead I said, "Hey, dude, it's a little early in the morning to be cranky. Enjoy the day." Right. And he said, "I'm just sick and tired of the simpleton remarks." I'm like, you know what? Some of us are here to market. Some of us are here to get our frustration out. Some of us are just here for a giggle. I said, don't take it too seriously. But you know what? You read everything, digest it, and then come up with something. If you can contribute, you contribute. And I think that's what you and I probably go overboard with our contribution. But you know what? It's who we are.
It's who we are. Like I said, I said it in my opening. I'm very passionate about it. A lot of people didn't even know I had a show. I mean, they knew I was on Twitter and very active, and they would engage with me on Twitter, but they didn't know I had this new outlet here. I mean, I'm 32 shows in. I'm pretty new. But they didn't realize it. And yes, it's me. I'm the Patriot 143. It's me, Chris. But, you're listening to the Silent Majority here, and, on the Rebooting Liberty hotline, I have Gary Wellings from, Drift, the Daily Drift radio show. I said in my opening that we need to stop calling this guy Ted Cruz an outsider. Also, I said, you have the Mark Levine, you have Mark Levine and Glenn Beck calling Ted Cruz a constitutional conservative, a person of values, and throughout this campaign, all you've seen is a person with the same values that every other politician has up on Capitol Hill. It's the same values. It's the same exact values. They lie. They manipulate the truth. They manipulate the truth. They're either misinformed or they're flat out lying. And to say that he's a constitutional conservative, at heart, would a constitutional conservative, give Obama TPP, which is basically a backdoor immigration, amnesty globalist plan, and would a constitutionalist give up our treaty powers both by signing by voting for the TPA and also by signing up for the Corker bill, which gave away our treaty power when it came to negotiating the Iran deal? Would a constitutional scholar do that? Gary.
I would say no. Yeah. I would say no.
This is what I'm saying.
It's interesting because, my own congressman out here, 7th District, Michigan, Tim Walberg, came on the Drift radio show one Saturday because he'd heard that I was bashing. And he said, let me explain why. This was before the TPP came to view. It was the TPA. It was giving the authority to Obama to go. And he said, listen, man, he said, we're doing the TPA because we get 60 days to review it, to give it an up or down instead of dragging it out for 9 months. And I said, that's fine, Tim, that's fine. But listen to me. Do you really have the votes to give it the thumbs down after you look at it for 60 days? And my guess is you don't, because there's going to be so many backroom deals cut in Washington, D.C., that you're never going to turn it down. And you won't be able to now to amend it or do anything else. And he went on to say, the treaties are good and everything. You know what? Trade treaties are not good for us if we're losing jobs. And in this new TPP bill they've got money set aside in there for retraining of Americans who lose jobs. Well, what kind of sense does that make? Well, if you're going to lose jobs, why are you doing TPP?
Well, exactly. And in the TPA and the TPP deal, one of them, you had a bill within there that was going to basically pay for unemployed Americans to stay home. It was like whenever you have something like that in a bill, who does that exactly? And you have 5-in-1 Republican voters who believe the so-called free trade deals lowers wages, rather than raise them. And my thing is, with the NAFTA deal, with all these trade deals, America gets the short end of the stick. Here you have, China importing materials, with low tariffs from the U.S. to build whatever products they're building in China, and then ships them back to the U.S. with ridiculous amounts of tariffs on it, and we get the short end of the stick. Does that make sense? That doesn't make any sense to me. That's not free trade. That's not free trade. And for everybody who says, well, Donald Trump, has a trade war and increases tariffs, that's going to make products more expensive here. Well, you know what? That's going to make these American companies that are abroad, even some foreign companies that are abroad, that start seeing that it'll be cheaper to build the stuff in America than to build it abroad, coming back to the U.S. and creating jobs.
And I think Trump put Cruz in his place last night when he talked about it. He said going into a trade war. Number one, people always forget the art of the deal. And I would encourage every listener out there, if you have not read The Art of the Deal, if you want to understand what Trump is, you want to understand the bluster, the big talk, the man who read The Art of the Deal. That is basic salesmanship and negotiation 101. You go in with a strong first offer, and in this case, it's President of the United States. He's telling China right now, I'm going to be willing to do a trade war. I'm going to be willing to do all these tariffs if you don't play right with us. And that's why China is scared, because they know they need us. And that's what politicians don't understand. They don't understand that China needs us just as badly as we need them. And so Barack Obama lies down and Ted Cruz lies down because they don't understand business. They're politicians. They're lawyers. They don't know how to make money. And they just don't. And the idea of the art of the deal is you go in strong and you hit them hard right at the beginning, and then you come back with a reasonable counter offer, and you know what? Everybody wins.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's the way.
And that's what
people don't understand that.
No, they don't understand it. They've been so you know what gaslighting is, right? When you keep, it's basically what Obama's been doing the last 7 years. He's been gaslighting Americans into believing that we're the crazy ones. And that's basically what's going on. I mean, they keep telling us these trade deals are benefiting America. They're not benefiting America. They're benefiting the globalist donors who want cheap labor and who want to continuously make more money on the backs of the middle class, the working Americans, because ultimately the poor are going to be subsidized by us, the middle class, because, the rich always know where to hide their money, so it's always the middle class that gets affected in all these trade deals, The one thing people need to understand is that in any trade arrangement with another country, the country with the highest standard of living and the highest average pay for its workers will always be the loser. You always will. That's just common sense. Let's talk.
It's simple economics.
Yeah. You're listening to The Silent Majority here on New Media Patriot Radio. I'm your host, Chris, and on the Rebooting Liberty Hotline, I have none other than Gary Wellings from the Daily Drift radio show, which airs on Saturdays, I believe in Michigan, correct?
Yeah, Wham Talk 1600 in Michigan.
There you go. Let's move on. We're talking about the debate here. Let's start talking about the debate quickly here because we're running out of time. Wow, time flies when you're having fun, right? So here you have the debates last night, and Donald Trump had a very, you said it earlier, he looked very presidential. I don't know if the guys, his advisors told him to tone it down, or if this is his master plan, basically. He just seemed like nothing bothered him. He just answered everything like, hey, I've been here before.
Yeah, I think it goes again back to the art of the deal. He's shown this bravado, this braggadocio, whatever you want to call it, for the last 9 months, and using that technique, he's managed to have his entire campaign paid for by the stupid media, who think, oh my gosh, listen to what he said. We're going to have to throw him under the bus. Well, it doesn't work, and it comes down to perceptions. And I think Marco Rubio fell into this trap. Excuse me. Yeah. There's a perception of Donald Trump. We expect him to be braggadocious. We expect him to be rude. We expect him to be outrageous. We don't expect that from a Ted Cruz. We don't expect that from a Marco Rubio. So when they try to bring themselves down to that level, people just look at him and go, oh, that's rather rude. But with Donald Trump, you expect the rude. So it's no surprise. Right. And that's why he's going to walk through a general election. Hillary Clinton and the media can throw whatever dirt they want, and it's going to be just like Joanna said. You know what? We don't care anymore. We're already wise to you, media. Right. We're already wise to what you're doing to us. Right. You're trying to make us not want the candidate that we want, and we're not going to listen. So he could, when he said he could fire a gun down the street and hit somebody and not lose a vote, he's right, because we've already been jaded by the media for decades. And we've finally understood that they're liars, and even when they tell the truth, it doesn't matter because we know they're liars now. We just we know what's going on, man. We're very keen to your games. But during the debate, you have three gentlemen up there that basically supported Obama trade, this huge deal that would put hundreds of thousands of American workers out of work. And here you have Rubio saying that, they asked him if he supports trade, as if he would support the Obama trade as president. He says, I support free trade deal that are good for America. The problem is we're a low tariff country. To import something into the U.S. is not very expensive. But many of these countries we can't export to because their tariffs are too high, which is what I said before. They pretty much sounded like Donald Trump, the other three. But when you look at their record, they were just sounding like Donald Trump. They weren't believing it like Donald Trump, because if you look at their record, here you have Marco Rubio, who was the 60th and critical vote when it came to TPA.
Considering, he misses a lot of votes, he made sure he was at this vote, to this deciding, critical vote. He made sure that he was there. So they're very hypocritical. These are the guys that are saying, I'm going to do this as a president. But meanwhile, you gave this president, who basically ruled as a monarch, as